2,000 years ago, Roman engineers poured concrete straight into the open sea. The Mediterranean has been attacking it ever since. It is stronger today than the day they poured it. Off the Italian coast, a diver puts a gloved hand flat against a wall. The surface is rough and grey and unmistakably concrete, a harbour wall Roman engineers set against the sea in the age of the emperors. It is still holding its line. Modern marine concrete, set in the same water, can begin to fail within 50 years. Here is the part that should be impossible. We have the recipe. A Roman engineer wrote it down around 25 BC, in a book that was copied and recopied and never once lost. You can read it tonight. Yet for roughly 1,000 years, nobody on Earth could make this material, and at the scale of a civilization, we still don't. This is the story of a technology that died with its instructions open on the table, and of what scientists found inside the concrete, hiding in what everyone had called a mistake. The Romans called it opus caementicium. The recipe reads like almost nothing: burned lime, water, rubble for bulk, and one ingredient that changed the history of building: a volcanic ash from the Bay of Naples named pozzolana for the town of Pozzuoli. Mix lime with that ash and a reaction begins. Engineers still call it the pozzolanic reaction. And what sets is not hardened mud, it is artificial rock. Stand under the proof. In Rome, around 125 AD, the Emperor Hadrian's builders finished a temple with a poured concrete dome more than 43 meters across. The Pantheon. 19 centuries later, it is still the largest unreinforced concrete dome ever built. Not the largest ancient one, the largest full stop. No rebar, no tie rods, no chains. Every other great masonry dome to survive from the ancient world has needed reinforcement or rescue. The Pantheon never has, and the dome is not the strangest thing this material did. For that, you go down to the water. Roman builders poured breakwaters and harbour walls directly into the sea, into salt water, the patient solvent of everything humans make. The concrete did more than survive there. Around 79 AD, Pliny the Elder wrote down what any harbour master could see: that the concrete becomes, in his words, a single stone mass, impregnable to the waves and every day stronger. Listen to that phrase, every day stronger. A Roman of the 1st century, watching his own civilization's material improve with age, an eyewitness report of a technology outliving the rules. Rome fell anyway, and in the centuries that followed, human beings did something stranger than losing a secret. They lost a technology that was never secret at all. Think about what forgetting means here. Nobody burned the book. Vitruvius's treatise, De Architectura, the 10 books on architecture, outlived the empire that produced it, copied by hand through the Middle Ages, on a shelf the whole time. The words never left the world. What left the world was everything the words do not say. Which ash from which slope, how hot, how long, in what order the hands should move. The recipe stayed, the craft bled out around it. For roughly 1,000 years, the poured architecture of Rome had no successor. And when concrete finally returned, it did not come from the book. In 1824, an English inventor named Joseph Aspdin patented Portland cement, the basis of virtually all concrete poured on Earth today. It was not a recovery. It was a reinvention, from scratch. Set the two materials side by side in the sea, and it gets uncomfortable. Modern marine concrete is built around steel, rebar. Salt water finds the steel corrodes, corroding steel expands, and the expansion cracks the concrete apart from the inside. Typical lifespan, 50 to 100 years. The Roman walls carry no steel to betray them, and that is part of the answer. But it explains nothing about Pliny. Nothing rusting is not the same as every day stronger. Because for centuries there was a clue, sitting in plain sight in every sample of Roman concrete anyone cut open. Small white chunks of lime scattered all through the material. Historians looked at them and saw carelessness. Badly mixed batches, cheap materials, corner cutting on an imperial job site. The most durable concrete in history appeared, up close, to be full of mistakes. The mistakes were the technology. Proving that would take 2 laboratories, a drilled harbor wall, and a construction site a volcano froze in place, mid-shift, for 1900 years. The first half of the answer came from the sea itself. In 2017, a University of Utah team, working at Berkeley Lab, examined cores drilled from Roman harbor concrete and found rare interlocking minerals, aluminous tobermorite and philipsite, inside the material's cracks and pore spaces. Not surviving there, growing there, seawater percolating through the concrete across centuries reacts with the volcanic ash and crystallizes, knitting the structure tighter, decade over decade. The same water that rusts our concrete hollow builds theirs denser. Pliny was not exaggerating, he was reporting. The second half arrived in January 2023 from MIT and Harvard in a study led by Admir Masic. His team went straight at the white chunks. They are called lime clasts, and they are not a flaw. They form when the mix is made with quicklime, raw, unslaked, fiercely reactive at high heat. Researchers call it hot mixing, and what it builds into the concrete is something modern engineering is only beginning to attempt: the ability to repair itself. Watch it work. A crack opens in the wall. Instead of skirting the hard white clast, the crack runs straight through it. Water seeps in, meets the exposed lime, and becomes a calcium-saturated solution, which then recrystallizes as calcium carbonate, filling the crack it traveled down. The wound seals the way a scar closes. Masic's team confirmed it in the laboratory. Samples made the Roman way were cracked, left under running water, and healed themselves. Then, in December 2025, came evidence nobody could have planned for. At Pompeii, researchers studied a construction site half-finished on the morning Vesuvius buried the city. A Roman work site frozen mid-job in 79 AD. Never finished, never used. It preserved what no ruin had ever shown directly: the mixing order itself. The materials had been combined dry, at heat, before the water went in. Hot mixing was not one crew's lucky habit. It was standard practice. One final problem, and it is a strange one. Vitruvius, the man with the recipe, describes the opposite order. Slake the lime in water first, then add the ash. The clasts in the concrete, and now the frozen site at Pompeii, point to heat and dry mixing instead. Perhaps he recorded a different method, or a secondary one, perhaps practice on-site, had moved beyond the treatise. Scholars genuinely disagree, and the question is open. The one written recipe that survived may not describe what Roman builders actually did. And here this episode breaks the pattern of every other on this channel. The usual ending is a confession. Nobody knows. Not tonight. Tonight we know: hot mixed lime that heals its own cracks, seawater growing crystal inside stone. This mystery was cracked in our own lifetime. Here is what should keep you up instead. The recipe was written down before the Pantheon was even built. The book was never lost, not for a single day in 2,000 years. And it was not enough. A recipe is not a craft. The knowledge that mattered lived in hands, in kilns, in job sites, in details so obvious to a Roman foreman that no one thought to write them down. And when the last of those hands stopped, the technology died with the book still open. 10 episodes on this channel have watched knowledge drown, or be buried, or vanish with the people who held it. This is another way, and it may be the most unsettling. Knowledge can die in plain sight. In writing. On the shelf. That is why laboratories are chasing this material now. Making modern cement is one of the planet's major sources of carbon dioxide, and a concrete that heals itself is a concrete you pour once. Roman-style mixes are in active development, including for the sea. 20 centuries on, we are relearning in laboratories what Rome knew in its hands. So the wall still stands in the Mediterranean, sealing its own wounds, every day stronger, the recipe in print the entire time. Rome's concrete never left the world, the knowing did. But a technology this good never stays home. It travels. And the sea Rome poured its harbors into was already an ancient highway. Long before the empire, Bronze Age sailors were moving tin and glass and ideas across it. farther than anyone believed possible for that age. We know because one of their ships went down, a single wreck resting in the dark, cargo still aboard, from more lands than any map of that world was supposed to connect. It is called the Ulubaran wreck, and that story is next. And if tonight's mystery held you, a like helps more people find the deep past, and subscribing brings you a new story every week. I'll see you down there.